Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in their local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, and I am joined today by a couple folks that are normally behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. We've got Josh and Kelly that are joining us from Stayfly Drone Service. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm glad that we could connect. This is one of those things that for you guys, it's not the during the day everything. This is the like after hours weekends, so I squeezed in one of those slots so that we could do this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, drone service. So obviously, we see these drones. Whether it's we were talking earlier about the theme parks. We see the drones that go up and make all the cool light shows and do different things. But you guys are using a drone in a little bit different application for you guys. Care to explain a little bit as far as Josh, kind of with the drones, how you're utilizing that in the area?
We've got different kind of drones. I've got about 5 in our fleet right now. I've got ones that we do from real estate to the photography to the thermal imaging that we use for search and rescue. A lot of our, we're pushing towards the pet rescue, doing a lot of that, and the down deer recovery, game recovery in the area. So each drone it's unique in its own aspect that we got. So we try to get a very broad
We
service.
try to have something for everything.
Yeah.
It makes me think when I was little growing up, we had Morgan McClure that had the the Kodak race team, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can remember the poster I had on my wall of all the different cars, and you had your road course car, you had your short track car, so it was all these different ones, but they were specialized to do a certain thing.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We have, the cinematic quality, and then we have just the regular, you've got some trees down on a fence, you want us to go check it out, we have one that we can just run out real quick and do that. But yeah, then if you have something missing and need thermal, we have that too. We even have a mini.
Yeah, I've seen that you guys have done a whole lot as far as, somebody has, I know that we've got a dog that before that got loose, and I chased her for a good 8 hours. Up and down the mountain, through the creeks, everything, trying to, we'd be like, I think I see her, and then you jump out and you run after.
Yeah.
That's a frustrating adventure regardless, but if you're not really sure where to even look, if you don't have a collar tag or anything, you guys can help just purely looking on heat signature.
Yeah, and it can be a very useful tool in finding things. I mean, it's cut down. We've had people that have looked all night, all day, and then they call and we throw the drone up, and 20, 30 minutes later we're like, there we go. And it's a great feeling to be able to help like that. And we do run into some issues. Some people live in like flight restricted areas and things like that. So I'm currently also taking classes in lost animal search and recovery to be able to help more on the ground for situations like that. And we hope to soon be able to actually start trapping services and, have a lot of interest in like lost cat searching and stuff like that too. So, which drones are also used for. We play hide and seek in the woods with our own animals and our kids, and it's kind of what we do for fun. We say, hey, go run out in the woods and we're going to find you in a few minutes. And so we usually do. Haven't lost them
Haven't
yet.
lost a child.
Not yet.
So.
We use it on our own pets when they get outside. So.
Yeah, we have an outdoor cat, and we're like, where's he at today? And we go, we'll find him in a tree hanging out.
Good practice.
Good practice.
Good practice.
So if you're thinking of drones, a lot of times people think like, oh yeah, I saw at Walmart, one of those drones that I can buy, and you use your cell phone and fly it around, or maybe you got a joystick. We're not talking about that quality. We're talking about very, very different, highly specialized commercial equipment.
Yes.
That's correct. Most of the ones you go and you can purchase at Walmart are for more of your hobbyists to get out and fly, maybe 100 yards away from you. The more you hook your phones to these, that I've found out from flying a lot of these, they lose a lot of connectivity. There's a lot of stuff that goes through to get the controller to send it out to your drone. So that's just a big, if you get in these, like some of these areas that ain't got very good cell phone signal, or it's blocked by trees, they're no good at all. The quality of photos is not very good. Most of mine, they say they can fly up for 12 miles, but with the laws and regulations, we can't fly that. You can't fly beyond sight. But we have them just in case we can. I can get my, all the regulations, and I can go in and sign up and get all the stuff that I need to fly beyond sight. When we go look for this stuff, it's a push of a button. I've got all my certs and everything for that. But the higher you go in quality, you got the better quality. Basically, the one we fly for, say, real estate, it has 4K resolution. It's cinematic. You can slow it down so it don't have that. The drones don't jerk, so it's just a smooth transition when you're moving around. Then my thermal drone that I purchased, it's the DJI Matrice 30T. It is one of the top of the line thermal imaging drones.
Weather.
It's all weather. You can fly in the rain, snow, high winds.
Well, wind is a little iffy, but mostly the wind that we've been getting around here lately has really
Let's put a damper
on it, but it's been a little extraordinary, I think.
You can fly in it, but you get to the point of common sense and safety of your equipment and people, and you say, I'm not going to push it.
If you're talking about, hey, the cost of a used Honda Civic, I don't really want to launch that in bad weather unless it was absolutely necessary.
Exactly.
It's not saying we wouldn't if it was a dire emergency for finding something that, like a person or something that the state calls me or the cops and say, hey, we need you to come find. We will. I mean, I'll throw in the air in a matter of minutes, but if it's something I can say, hey, we need to just hold off. Your dog's been missing for this long, let's just hold off and so we can come and find it. I can search better and put more into it than trying to rush into it and destroy some of our stuff or hit somebody.
Yeah. Now, you were mentioning as far as kind of the certifications and going through, I know that's been something that's come along with the advancement in this technology. That kind of, at first it was the Wild West, and then there was a lot more regulation that has come in. So it's not just that you guys know how to do this well, you're actually FAA certified.
That's great.
To be able to go through, correct?
Yeah, he is the drone pilot. I am not the drone pilot. Me and technology don't match.
I got into flying drones and got certified. I got my license. I actually work for a company, Service Electric, which is my shirt that I fly for the power lines. That's how it got me into flying drones. I do a lot of inspections for them. So then it pushed me off to, hey, and that's where I got a lot of my certs and a lot of my stuff. I got my level 2 thermography certified. I got into that to be able to read thermography. And then we come home one day and was like, hey, I'm going to start my own business. And we jumped the fence and went on and never looked back.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I know you might be sitting there right now wondering, hey, do I have enough to retire? Can I actually enjoy the fruits of my labor when it comes to that time? Spend 30 years working. What is that actually going to look like? Well, that's exactly what we go through in our financial pathway process, finding out, do you have enough money to retire? When will you have enough? What do we need to do saving differently, maybe in your 401k, to help you out with achieving that goal and getting there safely? Whether it be a tax minimization strategy, making sure you've got enough life insurance, or protecting your retirement, that's what I'm here to do. So if you haven't already, hit the link down below so that we can schedule a time to have a conversation, maybe right here at this conference table if you're local, or we can attend virtually and be able to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, back to this episode.
Now, you mentioned the down game recovery. How long does somebody need to, what's the window of time before they can realistically not find that down game?
That is debatable, actually. They will say the window is 48 to 72 hours, but we have picked up heat signatures on carcasses that have definitely been there longer. Mm-hmm. I would say 72 hours max. In this area you run into, once the predators find them,
there's not a whole lot left.
Yeah, there's not a lot left.
Now, what's been the most unique use of the drones that maybe you didn't think of initially because you were using them for line assessments and things like that, but that as you got into it, you went, wow, that was a totally different way versus what I thought I was going to be using this?
Kind of that's how the pet search came about. We didn't even think of it whenever we started the drone business. We were leaning way more toward like the photography side for real estate and things like that. And when we got started, the real estate stuff did not pop off the way that we kind of expected that it would, and event coverage and stuff like that. And we just ended up doing a lot of that stuff for free because nobody would actually hire us to do it. And then somebody one day was like, hey, my dog is missing. Can your drone look for it? And we were like, yeah, it can. And so that's kind of how that started. And then we went and we found that dog. It was, we were there for like 10 minutes and we found that dog. And nobody could catch that dog, and we ended up having to call in a trapping service to come in and get the dog, which they did. But we were like, we can do this. Why aren't we doing this? And so then it kind of just went from there, and now that's what we primarily do. I mean, our weekends are based off of whose dog are we going to look for that weekend. We get, we'll have some days, like a week will go by, and I'm like, did people forget that we're here because we hadn't had any calls? And then we'll get like 3 calls in a day. So it is definitely keeping us busy.
Well, you were talking about the real estate photography. I could remember, and now this is years ago, when the helicopters would come through, and that they would take the aerial photo of your house and then try to sell it to you after the fact. That it was like, hey, look at this, don't you want it? Versus now that you can get a great shot, especially as people are trying to sell the market what it is now and trying to be that unique difference maker. That if you're scrolling through and it's like, oh no, this is just somebody took it on a cell phone, and then it's like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
So I know you guys put a lot of care into what you're doing. Obviously, the pet search being a huge thing, but still able to do the real estate, still able to do a lot of your aerial photography, whether it's for somebody's wedding, somebody's event that they're doing, any of that type of stuff.
We haven't done any weddings yet. We're actually doing a wedding in April. So we're excited about that. And we've done quite a few events though, and those are always fun and those are interesting sometimes. But yeah, we have worked with a couple of realtors in the area. So that's also.
Now, are you solely doing the outside footage? I know you mentioned you had the mini, so are you doing the fly-throughs in the home as well?
Fly-throughs in the home get very tricky with wind drafts from like hallways and such. So we have other equipment that we use to do interior stuff. But yeah, we have cameras to do the interior photos, and we can do like video walkthroughs, not necessarily with the drone, but gimbals and other equipment that we can use. So yeah, we can do the whole full package, and we also do a 3D dollhouse virtual tour. We have a program that we use for that, where you can just like push the button and it will take you from one room to the other room, and that is really cool.
And that's where it's kind of you're setting up the points, right? To where you click through and it's like you're walking through those specific points, or maybe you're wanting to call out a certain feature that might be missed in just the still photo, but if you see that, you can point it out.
And you can just like look around the whole room. It's just like you're standing there. That is really neat that we love to do.
So with the drone service, one of the nice things I know last year, you guys were able to participate in the Coalfield Economic Development Authority and kind of utilize that to continue to grow your business.
We're very thankful for that.
What's been the biggest thing that's come out of that for you guys that allowed you to do?
Giving us some freedom to explore different ways to expand, whether that's going to be to spend that money on, large traps, for the pet search and rescue. We're talking about maybe even getting an underwater drone. We have a lot of, lakes and everything in the area. So that's something that we've also kind of looked into. It's helped us, we financed all of this from the start, just the two of us, so it's kind of helped take a little bit of the edge off as far as paying off some of the debt that we've incurred.
Yeah, these are not cheap side hobby things. These are very, very highly specialized, not cheap.
Yeah, you can't just go to Best Buy and buy the drones that we have unless you get the mini.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that's been bought.
No, there are three. There are three that I got, and then I bought the mini.
Yeah.
which is too good, quality cameras, but they're costly.
Yeah.
Then you go into more specialized, and then that's when you have to order
Yeah.
and get the things you want on them at that point.
Now, if you're going to show up you're going to be flying, is that something that you're having to register ahead of time? Hey, I'm going to be flying in this area, or how does that work as far as with kind of your flight path?
Yes, on that, we'll ask them, say if we're gonna go do a pet search or something of that, we'll ask them where the address is. That lets me pull up my app. I've got a program I can look and see what the flight restrictions are in that area. If it's good to go, we'll go fly it. There's some that's got like nighttime restrictions. Some tells me that I can only fly to certain elevations. But most of the places around here, unless we stay away from major airports over in Tri-Cities, we can fly in this area.
Airports, hospitals, and jails.
Okay.
Those are the main things.
So if you're around one of those three, then it might be some low flight or no flight. But
Right.
outside of that,
Like, just take for instance here in Lebanon, you can fly to about right here,
Yeah, you can't go past the
and you
theater.
can't go past the theater because of the courthouse
And
and the hospital. So anything else is out, and and they pretty much do a big circle. It's like a cone. So they cone it out, and then they got flight paths where they're going to go out, and you've got to stay out of those flight paths. But my drones are specialized they will communicate to let me know when there's an aircraft in the area, what altitude it's flying, and it sends them a signal back to tell them, hey, there's a drone in the air, and this is where he's flying. So it communicates that I know and be safe when I fly my drones.
and I know that gives people peace of mind, because I've seen where people have flown in, they're like, oh yeah, they flew into birds, and it's like, no, that wasn't a bird. That was that was another issue altogether. So as you look forward to the rest of this year, continuing to grow, what's your all's hope as far as with Statefly and being able to continue to expand that for 2025?
Well, as far as the pet search side of it goes, there's not an actual pet service operation in this area. The closest one is around the Knoxville area, and she's great, and we work well with her. We communicate with her a lot, but we want to bring kind of her full service operation to here. So if someone does lose a pet, we're the first call, or not the days later call. And then as far as the rest of it, we're hoping to really be able to have some more of the down deer recovery this year. That kept us very busy. We were getting like 3 calls a day for that, and that was before anybody really even knew that we were out there. So we're hoping to get our name out there some more. And as far as the real estate stuff, we'd like to continue to do that. Only problem with that is realtors work Monday through Friday, and they don't really want to meet you on a weekend, when we have available time to do some of that stuff. The rest of it usually works in pretty well, because to fly a thermal drone, it's better to fly it first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening or at night. So that works out great for our schedules, because we work during the day. We can go on a pet search early in the morning before work or after work or on a weekend. And real estate and other stuff that they want you to hit during the middle of the day with a regular drone, sometimes that gets a little tricky as far as scheduling. So
You play the weather game.
yeah, and you play the weather game. The weather game is a big bad weather game, because the good drones for the real estate stuff are not all weather drones. You need good weather for that. So scheduling gets really tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
So as we look kind of from that to be able to piggyback on, I always like to look back and see, you guys have been doing this now for a little while.
Almost a year.
So if we look back at, almost a year ago, when you said, you know what, I think that I can apply what I'm doing during the day and do some more of it after hours or on the weekends and apply it in a different way. What's been the biggest lesson for you along that year?
For me, from my perspective, is time management. How much we didn't realize how much time to invest in this. We were like, okay, we're getting into this. We really didn't know, and then we started offering more services, and then the more our names got out there, it was like, wow, okay, we are having to prioritize stuff now. stuff we used to do, we can't do now, and then you're just like, breathe. It'll be, and then you get these people that are leaving you hanging, that they'll call you, and then they're like, oh, we want to do it, and we're like, we're trying to explain to them, the earlier you can do it, the better. We're not here just to make money. We're here to try to tell you how to get your animal back, or how to do this. We're specializing this, and they'll wait, and then at the last minute they're like, and we got everything ready to rock and roll, and they're like, we don't need you guys no more.
Yeah, or we'll be on the way, and they'll call and be like, eh.
And we're not like a lot of them that's, that we've heard through the stories, that will charge them regardless. We don't charge until we're on site, and we have a base fee of what we charge to show up, and we give flight time in that setup and charge. But that's the biggest thing that I think, it was the time management, how much we realized we were going to have to invest in this. We thought it was going to be, hey, we're going to go do some small stuff, keep busy, build us a little thing, but now that we're getting busier and everything, you're like, okay.
Yeah, we have to schedule breaks sometimes.
Yeah.
And we have to really stick to them, because, somebody will call and say, hey, can you do this? And we're like, should we? should we? But yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing, and we had to actually put a cap on some of our flight times and stuff, because some people, they just keep you out there all day. And, for some people, I'm sure that that's fine, but for us, for like, 3 to 4 hours on site maximum.
You haven't found by that point.
It's like after that, we need to stop and regroup and try something else, or go somewhere else and start, but some people would keep you out there all the time. But no, we drive around in our car with as many batteries as we could afford, and a generator, and charge them on site, and all of that. So we try so hard to accommodate everybody, but sometimes we do just have to say, okay, we need to stop now, and we'll come back and revisit this again. It's not giving up, it's just regrouping. And we have 2 kids, and they go out with us a lot, because we have very limited childcare. And so there have been instances where we were looking for a cat up in Wool Retreat, and we had to be there. The owner was moving, and they lost her cat during transport. And so the owner lives 5 hours away now. So she was coming up and spending the nights in her car and searching for her cat. And so we were trying to meet her. Best time to search for cats, early in the morning, late at night. So we were leaving our house at like 3:30 and 4 in the morning, and going up there and flying for a few hours and everything. And our kids are sitting in the car like, can we get McDonald's when it opens? And so, it's a time management for them too. Back at, when it was Christmas time, I made a post. I said, look, our kids have been with us on lots of calls. We've done as much as we can do. We're taking 2 weeks. Our kids are going to be with us. We're focusing on them. And that's what we did for 2 weeks. We didn't take a single, we had calls, of course, but there were none that we actively went to for 2 weeks. And so sometimes you have to do that.
Now, you've mentioned kind of neighboring folks that do the pet recovery of Knoxville. You just mentioned Rural Retreat. How large of an area, realistically, are you guys trying to cover, as far as if somebody's watching this, listening to this, and that they go, you know what, I know somebody that needs that. How large of an area do you guys service?
We like to stay within an hour or an hour and a half of Lebanon. Just because any longer than that, we end up having to find full-day childcare. We end up having to either get a hotel or, stuff like that keeps us out just really late when we do have other responsibilities and stuff to take care of. So we like to stay fairly close, because if you consider driving an hour, and then you're on site for a minimum of 2 hours, really, because by the time that you set up and get going, fly for an hour, they want you to keep going. It gets into a lot, and then you still have that drive home. So, we try to stay as local as we can. Now, we have gone as far as like Jonesville, Johnson City, Rural Retreat. We've done some deer searches a little further out. But we try to delegate, and we, if there's something that comes up and I know that we can't do it, I'll say, call them down in Tennessee. And then we recently found another group that's very similar to us up in the northern part of Virginia. We're kind of right in the middle. I can't remember exactly which, they're 4 hours.
Harrisonburg.
Yeah, they're 4 hours east of us.
Okay.
So, we can call them and say, hey, you're a little closer than we are, vice versa. I actually spoke to them today about a case that's pretty close by in like Big Stone Gap. So, we try to all communicate with each other and help as best we can, but we all kind of are in the same boat of being kind of swamped with life.
Well, that's part of having any business, right? Is that
Yeah.
you're glad when it's busy, but you also have to know your limits.
Yeah,
Okay, we can't push it further than this because that stretches us too thin.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that as of, right now in this day and time, that this is kind of the side hustle. It's not, we have our main jobs that we have to prioritize because that's where we're funding everything from. And until we, could be substantial on our own, we kind of have to keep that in mind. Family comes first, the kids and their things and our jobs, and then we do what we can on the off time. So
Awesome. Well, I know obviously there's going to be people that are watching this that want to try to keep up or follow along. Maybe they don't already do so. What's the best way to keep up with you guys of where you're at, what you're doing, some of the new technology?
Facebook. Stay Fly Drone Service LLC on Facebook is the best way to reach us. You can message us. It has our phone numbers on there if you want to call. Follow along. I post stuff on there as regularly as I can. We have a website and an Instagram and a TikTok, but I don't have time to keep up with all of that. I just don't.
That's great. Listen, I appreciate you saying that because there's so many people that are like, I have all of these, and it's like, okay, the last time you posted was 2021.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't actively use it. I just have it.
We have it all, but you may not be
It's hard.
response.
It's hard to keep up with everything. Time you do all your stuff and then try to post stuff, it's hard.
Yeah, but we love it when people, call us, ask us, run us through what's going on, tell us what you need. We're fine to talk to people on the phone. There are so many scammers out there, and this is a big one. This is like, that has hurt us so bad, especially on the pet search side. When somebody posts on Facebook in these missing groups that their dog is missing or their cat is missing, there are scam companies out there that are scamming people out of money, and you would think it doesn't happen, but we talk to, at least 2 people a week that have been scammed out of hundreds of dollars because they'll call and say, hey, we have a drone, we can find your pet, but you have to send them money, or they'll say, hey, I've got your pet,
A reservation
send me money
fee or something.
Yeah, and it's awful. It's absolutely awful. And so now people don't trust the drone services and things, and it's really hard to get it across to some people that there are legitimate ones out there. So, I spend a lot of my time just trying to be transparent on Facebook and saying, hey, this is who we are, this is where we're from. I'd be happy to speak to anybody on the phone. You don't pay us until we're there usually. Now, if it's somebody that wants us to drive, 2 or 3 hours to get there, I'll say, okay, you can give me a deposit or something, and then when we get there, we can take care of the rest of it. But we try to be as flexible with people as we can, but the scam operations have really hurt us because there are people that lose, $300, $400, $800 to these scammers, and then when they finally do get a hold of us, they can't afford our service anymore, and then we feel guilty, and it's awful. So.
Well, I think that obviously gets help when you're transparent and you put the stuff out there and that you show like, hey, here's how it works.
Yeah.
Here's when it doesn't work. And that way up front. Like sometimes we can search all that we want. We're not going to find. But most of the time we do.
Yeah.
So it just makes it easier for you guys. Well, we'll make sure to share that link down below as far as with the Facebook. We'll put the website on there too, just in case if somebody wants to look. But, but you've got to follow along with things like that because a pet search isn't one of those things that any of us hopes that we have in the near future. But when you do, you need to know immediately, like, hey, who do I reach out to? How long do I need to wait? What are the things that I can do?
Don't wait.
Yeah, because that way you can be there and have that set up. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time, especially later in the evening, so that we could sit down and go through Be sure to like, share, subscribe so you never miss an episode of Dream Achievers. We're sitting down every single week with folks like Josh and Kelly so that they can share more of their story, more of what's going on in Southwest Virginia, Northeast Tennessee. And that's how we continue to do this, when you share it with other people and that you like and subscribe to the page. So until next time, this is Andy saying I'll catch you down the road. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.